Credit card roadmaps are essential to success in the credit card game, in my opinion. Yes, you can go out and try to add just every single credit card that you want, but you'll quickly find out that doing that without a plan could lead to some pretty negative consequences. Whether that be getting stuck in Amex pop-up jail, locked out of Chase's credit cards because of their 524 rule, or getting shadow banned from other lenders because you weren't aware of their sensitivities, it could get really ugly really quick. That is exactly why I make videos like this though, to show you exactly how you can build your credit card roadmap that'll ultimately be able to lead you to profit the absolute most from the credit card game that you can, and maybe even get on a 14 credit card approval streak like I'm on myself right now. In this video, I'll not only be showing you exactly what credit cards I want to apply for next, but I'll also be explaining why I'm adding each of those cards and why that order of applications is so important. Here's my big disclaimer for this video. Just because I talk highly of each of the credit cards in this video does not mean that they are actually good for you. You just need to be sure to do your own research when making your credit card roadmap because every credit card setup is just so drastically different. If you do want some personal help with that coming from myself, I do offer paid calls to do just that. And while that service is not for everybody, it has been really beneficial for people out there. And I just want to let y'all know that I have that down below. Now, without further ado, let's jump into my spreadsheet. For those of y'all that have been familiar with the channel for a while, you'll know that I have a basically full credit card management spreadsheet that I use to track all of my credit card information, particularly as it comes to deciding what card I want to add next, which is exactly what we're doing here today. I'm going to quickly run through everything on this spreadsheet so we have a general idea of what's going on, and then we're going to spend a good amount of time on one section in particular, that being this cards on radar section right here. The first and arguably most referenced section in my entire spreadsheet, based on my personal preferences, is my 524 status section. As you can see here, I basically dedicate one column to the card names of all the cards that I've applied for, as well as the date opened right next to that. Then I have some automatic calculations here that determine how many days and months until the card ages to that 2-year mark. And these NA columns here are for my business credit cards, since these business credit cards do not report to your personal credit report and therefore don't impact your 524 status. Other than that, of course, all of the green cells are cards that have dropped off my 524 count, and all the red cells are cards that are still adding to that count. Then I have a cell here that automatically calculates your 524 status based on the values in these columns, as well as a final column that tells me when my next card is dropping off of my 524 count. I will note real quick that this 524 status is calculated based on the exact day that the card technically falls off of my 524 count, but this next card drop date column is calculated based on the first day of the following month that the card drops off, if that makes any sense. So while this says 424 right now, technically I don't consider myself under 524 until July 1st. So in my brain, I'm actually at 524 right now, not 424. So this section is extremely helpful, especially for those of y'all that like the Chase credit cards. Underneath that, I have a section dedicated to all the welcome bonuses that I've gotten over the past few years of playing the credit card game. Very similar layout here with the card name and date opened. But then next to that, I have the welcome offer that I got on the card, as well as the type of points that I earned through the welcome offer. And then we have the spin required and day count for that spin to be completed in, with a return on spin calculation next to that. I also added this little total here at the bottom recently just to see how many points I've accumulated from welcome offers. And as you can see, I'm sitting at about 1 million points, which is pretty awesome, especially considering most of these points are earned in transferable currencies that I can use to actually transfer out to partners and book free trips. As I mentioned earlier, this is the section we're going to be dedicating the most time to, so we're going to skip it for now. And that also applies to this chicken scratch over here that I have, but we'll talk more about that here in a second. The last two things on this spreadsheet, being more like a roadmap condensed spreadsheet that I made for this video, is going to be my Amex 5 credit card limit, because that is a number that I do care about as well, especially considering I already have 2 Amex credit cards. And when I say credit cards, I mean cards from Amex that give you a credit limit. So the Amex Gold card, Business Gold card, any charge cards do not count towards this limit. But as we know, Amex has a 4 to 6 credit card limit that will basically only allow you to get up to that number of their credit card products. And as you can see here, I currently have 6 cards on this roadmap for Amex credit cards, which means I might have to one day cancel, one of these up here that I already have, or maybe I won't end up getting one of these just because I want to manage this status a little bit better, but just a good number to keep in mind. And then lastly, down here, I have a section for my expected welcome bonus reward totals for the year. And yes, this is different than the welcome bonus section up top here, because this is dedicated to cards that were on my roadmap at some point this year and I've either applied for, or cards that are on my roadmap that I plan on applying for, so that I just get a rough estimation of how much money I need to spend in the year to hit these welcome offers, as well as the return on spend for all of that if I do follow through with each of the cards. So we do have some white spaces here, considering these are the cards that I'm considering adding throughout the rest of this year, which is what this whole video is about. So I'll reveal those here in a little bit. As I mentioned, this is a condensed version of my credit card management spreadsheet that I'll have linked down below, completely for free, by the way. You can just, download it at your leisure. But I'm going to make a follow-up video to this one, theoretically basically right after this, including a couple of other sections that I've left off of this one, that being like my annual fee manager, as well as my expected card usage in the future based on the cards I want to add from my roadmap and stuff like that. But to save time today, I decided I'd split that into a separate video coming out hopefully the week after this one. Now, speaking of these expected welcome bonus reward totals, and as you can see, I'm planning on earning roughly $10,000 worth of free travel this year. What if there was a way to earn even more free travel than this based on just your daily purchases? This is exactly where Kudos comes into play. Kudos is a free AI-powered smart wallet that helps you unlock more credit card rewards and benefits when you shop online. So what that means is no more leaving money on the table. Kudos automatically picks the best credit card for you to use at over 2 million stores to guarantee that you're always going to earn the highest rewards, points, or cashback. And with their partnership with the Points Guy, you can actually save some time in discovering new cards that might fit your setup really well and give you the highest sign-up bonuses out there. And further than that, one of my favorite features about Kudos is that you can use it as a way to store your card information and autofill on any site that you're shopping on to just, again, save you a bunch of time. A good way to think about Kudos is that it's kind of like Apple Pay, Honey, and NerdWallet all combined in one. And the best part about it is that Kudos is completely free. So if you're ready to start turning every one of your purchases into more rewards, click the link below and use the code Spencer to give you $20 back after your first eligible purchase and start getting more out of your credit cards today with Kudos. Thank you to Kudos for sponsoring this video, but let's get back into the roadmap. Okay, so now let's get into the bread and butter of the roadmap, that being this cards on radar section. And first I want to talk about this information off to the side that has helped me decide what cards I want to put in that cards on radar section itself. So as y'all can see on screen, I have a lot of different cards, and I basically just tried to give myself as many options as possible from which I can eventually pull cards off of these lists and put it into the actual cards on radar section itself. This first little section up here is kind of just dedicated to cards that I don't want to forget about and I want to keep on my roadmap. And the only one slated for 2024 is this Ritz-Carlton card. But other than that, I'm waiting on getting the Marriott business card in 2025 if I want to implement the Marriott card strategy that my buddy Stan the Credit Frog has talked about so well on his channel. So I just kind of keep that there for the background. I like to get things off my brain and put it down on paper or an Excel spreadsheet. So that's exactly what that's for. And then I've listed a bunch of business and personal card options that I think I might want to add in the future, but I'm not exactly 100% sold on yet. Every once in a while, I'll come in here and like update this based on new cards that have come out or updates to cards and remove cards that I don't really want anymore and just stuff like that. And one of the ways that I populate this section is based on this setups to complete and cards needed little section over here on the right. Because as y'all know, I do like to complete credit card setups where I can, or at least, get the cards that allow me to have access to the transfer partners that I want with each of these lenders. So I listed, 5 of the biggest lenders that I currently have cards from or want cards from, as well as the hotels and airlines that I frequently use the most and what cards I would need with them to complete their setups. I'm not going to list out every card on here, but I just want y'all to see like kind of how I get the ideas for the cards that I want in my roadmap. And whenever I lay it out like this, especially by lender, that helps me get a good grasp on which cards I need to add at what time, because each of these lenders have different application rules and stuff like that that you have to consider. So with that being understood, we're going to come back to the, let's see here, 6 cards that I have on this list and uncover them one by one. And I'll explain exactly why I'm applying for each of these at the time that I am, starting with this first row being the next card I plan on applying for, that being the Chase Ink Cash. Now, this card may surprise you as much as it kind of surprised me because this is a new addition to the roadmap, and there are a few main reasons that I have it on here right now. Before we get there, let's just go ahead and run through all of the columns. As for my expected application date, I put July 15th, which is about a month or so from the time of me recording this. And the reason for that is because, as I mentioned earlier in the 524 section, I technically don't have my Amex Gold card dropping off until July 1st based on my calculations, even though this says 424. So I can't get any Chase cards until July 1st as is. I also just recently applied for the Citi Strada Premier card, and I imagine that it's going to take me a little bit to hit that welcome offer. So by giving myself until July 15th, I just have some time to, one, spend towards the minimum spending requirement on the Strada Premier without any worries, as well as let myself actually fall under 524 by a good bit and just space out my applications in the best way possible. It would be really nice if in the next month they increase the bonus up to 90,000 points, but as of right now, I only expect to get 75,000 points for spending $6,000 in the next 90 days. And of course, my 524 status after getting approved is going to still be 424 because business credit cards, specifically with Chase, of course, do not add to your 524 account. While you do need to be under 524 to get approved for Chase's business credit cards, if you are approved, since they're not a personal card, they don't add to your 524 count. So while they are impacted by the 524 rule, they do not add to it. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. Now, there are 2 other credit cards that I'm thinking about applying for on this exact date. So we're just going to go ahead and reveal them all, and just, you can help me decide what the best option is, even though I'm kind of already set on one. So cards number 2 and 3 are the Chase Chase Ink Preferred and Hyatt Business credit cards. Now, the real only difference between the Chase Ink Cash and Ink Preferred is going to be, I guess, the welcome offer, but mainly the spending requirement for it. And I personally right now do not have $8,000 to spend in the next 90 days. Necessarily, I could, get flexible with it and make it happen, but I kind of want to save that card for something more worthwhile, like maybe next year's tax season, or I don't know, maybe that's when I'll go for the Amex Business Platinum. But I don't want to, I guess, go for a welcome offer with a super high spending requirement if I don't have to, which is why the Chase Ink Cash feels like the better option for me, even though the bonus is lower. It's also a free credit card. I don't really want to add another annual fee to my setup right now, which the Chase Ink Preferred has a $95 annual fee that would add to that. So out of these two options, I'm definitely leaning more towards the Chase Ink Cash. And I do want to mention that a lot of y'all are probably going to be like, well, don't you already have the Chase Ink Cash in your setup? And to answer you, yes, I do, but I applied for that card under my social security number only, so I applied as a sole proprietor. However, I do now have an LLC, which I've been applying for a lot of my cards under, and I could go get another Chase Ink Cash under my LLC, lock in another 75,000 points, and maybe eventually cancel the first one that I have, or just leave them both open, because Chase does not limit you on the number of credit cards you can have with them, just the total available credit limit that they'll allot to you. So yes, I will have two Chase Ink Cashes if I go for this card, and I could technically do the same thing with the Chase Ink Unlimited if I wanted to instead, but since my LLC currently has the Chase Ink Unlimited under its name, I'm just going to complete the, no annual fee duo there with the Chase Ink Cash is what I'm thinking. But of course, that is if I want to get it over the Hyatt Business credit card here, that being the third option that I'm considering. As you can tell, all three of these credit cards are business credit cards, and the reason I don't have the personal Hyatt Business card on here, even though I am dropping under 524, is one, because the welcome offer just isn't that good for me. Like, I just don't care that much about it. But the biggest reason is because I don't want it to add to my 524 count. If we go back up to the top here, you can see that the next card drop date I have after this one in July isn't until March of 2025. And then after that, I have to wait another 7 months to apply for another card. So I really want to be only applying for business cards, really mostly through the rest of this year. That way I can effectively manage my 524 count and make sure I can get all the cards that I want to by the end of this year. The Hyatt Business card is an interesting value prop because, like I mentioned with the Chase Ink cards, it's not going to add to my 524 count, but it has a hefty $199 annual fee, of which I don't want to pay. And since I'm not chasing status with Hyatt right now, which is what I think this card is really good for, considering it doesn't have a free night, you need to get some value back from it, and that's kind of in the status hunting game. Again, while it does offer a good amount of bonus points, and I think it's actually 60,000 bonus points right now, I would rather earn 75,000 Chase points for a little bit more spend. That way I can actually have control over where I put those Chase points to use. I've also used a ton of my Chase points recently, which I need to talk about in a future video, but I've used probably 200 or 300,000 Chase points this year, something like that. So I'm really, really low on those, and I'd like to get that stash back up, and that's what the Chase Ink Cash or Ink Preferred would help me do. The Chase Ink Cash just doing it at a no annual fee level and requiring less spend. So while both of these cards did seem like good options whenever I added them to the list, I think the Chase Ink Cash is going to be the one that I go with next. And as for the exact date, that's still a little bit up in the air. I'm in no rush for it, but if I have a lot of spend coming up in the middle of July, that's probably the card that I'll use to hit that. Now, the next card here is a little bit less interesting, or maybe less interesting just because y'all already know about it. That, of course, being the Ritz-Carlton credit card. It's also less interesting because it's not a card that I'll be applying for fresh. There's no welcome offer that you can get on the Ritz-Carlton card, but I will be product changing to it roughly on September 5th of 2024. I do need to use my Marriott Boundless free night certificate first though, and I also still have those 5 free nights to use, which I keep forgetting about. So once I use all of that, I will then product change my Marriott Boundless card into the Ritz-Carlton card. At least that's my plan for now. And considering it is just a product change, it is not going to add to my 524 count, meaning that I'll still be sitting at 424 in September if I do make this product change happen. And it actually is one that I'm debating currently, just because I'm not sure how much value I would get from the card in the next year, but I also want to lock it in before they either make any changes to it or discontinue it. So I will very likely be making this product change, even though I'm going to have to front that $450 annual fee while trying to, I guess, lower my overall annual fees in my setup right now. However, if I do cancel my Amex Gold card, which is looking like it's going to be the plan, that'll help manage that load a little bit better. Now, next up, we actually have a pairing of 2 credit cards that I've been thinking about getting for a long time, and I'm happy to report that I think I am finally ready to apply for them. Again, things could change, but this is my plan right now. These 2 cards being the Southwest Performance Business card and the Southwest Plus cards. Now, if you're wondering why the heck I want Southwest cards, well, you guessed it, I'm going for the companion pass for 2025 and 2026, and the best way to do that is by basically applying for 2 Southwest cards at the end of the current year you're in, so 2024 for me, but waiting to hit the welcome offers on both of those cards until the very beginning of the next calendar year, so that'd be January of 2025. That way you lock in the companion pass for the rest of the year that you earn the qualifying points in, as well as the the following year, basically locking you in for 2 years of free companion pass just by hitting the welcome offers on these cards. Now, why am I going for the companion pass, you may be wondering? Well, that's because I have a girlfriend now, and I would love to be able to start traveling with her for a much more affordable rate, and the companion pass with Southwest is honestly just pretty overpowered, and I've been really itching to implement this credit card strategy for a long time, so happy to report that I now have a girlfriend exactly for that purpose and that purpose only. Jokes aside, I am really excited to hopefully implement this strategy, assuming I do get approved for these cards, because if not, that would be really awkward. Now, you may be wondering why these 2 Southwest cards in particular, and I do plan on making a future video about Southwest companion pass in general, but to give you the quick rundown, you need 135,000 qualifying Southwest miles in order to hit the companion pass requirements. And as you can see, based on these bonuses that are generally on these cards, even though they're elevated right now and they can change, here and there, I would earn a total of 130,000 points while accumulating roughly the lowest annual fee you can get using this method. And also, just so you know, by holding a Southwest card, you earn 10,000 qualifying miles every year just for doing that, which puts me at 140,000 points with these base welcome offers, therefore giving me companion pass in January of 2025 if I hit the spending requirements. And it's just super important that you don't hit the spending requirements too early. As you can see for the dates, I'm thinking about applying for the performance business card basically in November. That way I give myself at least a month, maybe a month and a half of headway before adding the Southwest Plus card, since the Southwest Performance Business has a $5,000 minimum spending requirement, which is a lot heftier than the $1,000 spending requirement. And since they give you 90 days to hit the welcome offers, by applying sometime in November, I give myself until basically the end of January to hit the welcome offers on both the Southwest Performance Business and the end of February really to hit the Southwest Plus welcome offer. But with $1,000 only needed for that, I would just do it really in one transaction. And by doing all of this, long story short, I will get the Southwest Companion Pass for 2 basically full years. I also wanted to go for the business credit card first because once again, I'm managing my 524 status. And if I was to go for the Southwest Plus first, I would actually be locked out of the performance card, meaning that I could not even get the Southwest Companion Pass. So the order of these cards is extremely important. And that doesn't just go for the Southwest cards, even though it is particularly important with them. That goes for all the cards that I'm talking about in this video. Now I want to take a look at these cards here together one more time and just point out the fact that every single one of them is a Chase credit card. And for those of y'all out there that hate Chase cards, or you're just, think I'm crazy for being a Chase fanboy, I mean, as you can see, I'm not even just looking at Chase Ultimate Rewards point earning cards here. I'm actually looking at their co-branded cards mainly. And even though I have 14 credit cards at this point, I still have so many of their cards that I want to get, which is why I manage my 524 status so strictly, and why I recommend most people do the same, especially if you're somebody similar to me, which I kind of assume you are if you're watching my videos. Now, coming back down to the expected welcome bonus reward totals here, I'm going to go ahead and reveal all of these cards at once so we can see how I got to these final numbers here on the bottom right that I did. And as you can see, I actually left out both of the Chase Ink Preferred and Hyatt Business cards in these calculations because the Chase Ink Cash, Ritz-Carlton, and the 2 Southwest cards are the real only cards I'm planning on applying for throughout the rest of this year, which is really only 3 credit cards because Ritz-Carlton's a product change. And with all those numbers being inserted and these calculations being done based on the cash value of the points, the travel portal value of the points, and the transfer partner value, we come out to a total for my year of having to spend $32,000 to hit the spending requirements while earning $3,300 in cashback form, $6,545 in travel portal form, and $9,620 in transfer partner form with these return on spends down below. So as you can see, like I mentioned all the time on my channel, I'm getting anywhere from 13 to 30% back for all of my purchases on this $32,000 worth of spend for the year, which in my opinion is amazing. Much better than using a debit card. Of course, as long as you use these cards responsibly and you're not overspending to hit the welcome offers. We just covered a ton of ground here in this longer video, but I hope this just gave you a good idea of my thought processes on the credit card game in general and where I'm currently sitting at in the middle of the summer of 2024. If you want to apply for any of the credit cards that I talked about in this video, always feel free to check the links down below because it does help support me a ton if you do use those links. And like I mentioned, if you want my help in building out your personal credit card roadmap and we spend, at least an hour and a half talking to each other about this exactly, I do have one-on-one calls that you can book down below too. If you do like these spreadsheet type of videos, I'm going to go ahead and point you to my video about how much money I made from credit cards in 2023, where I am completely transparent about all the referrals I earned and everything like that. So I do think y'all would really enjoy it. Unfortunately, do not have Odin here with me today because I'm leaving for a trip to California in the morning. But if you did enjoy this video, it would mean a ton to me if you left a like and considered subscribing to the channel. And of course, I'll catch you guys next time.